Rising proudly into the London sky, St. Paul's Cathedral stands as one of humanity's greatest achievements, a monument to the strength and resilience of those who rebuilt the city from its ashes. As ancient London fades behind us, merging with the modern city and its towering skyscrapers, the cathedral remains steadfast, a silent witness to centuries of change. History is not merely a record of suffering, it is a testament to resilience. London may have been devastated by plague in 1665 and fire in 1666, but from that destruction came a city far stronger, safer, and more magnificent than before. The London we have walked through is not just a collection of dates and numbers. It is a story of adaptation, courage, and vision. Those wide avenues, sturdy brick walls, and soaring domes were born from the profound pain and loss of that era. They remind us that even in devastation, humanity can rise, rebuild, and reimagine the future. Thank you for joining me on this journey through fire and plague. When we look upon the ruins of the past, let us remember not only the suffering, but also the determination, foresight, and will to survive of those who came before us. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can explore more moments from history together. I am a time traveler, and this was London, 1665. See you on the next journey. Phase 4, Rebirth and the Vision of Christopher Wren. Look down at your feet. All that remains of the old city are charred timbers and crumbling stone walls. Timber-framed homes have vanished. 87 churches lie in ruins. Listen closely to the silence. This is no longer the oppressive quiet of plague. It is the stillness of a blank canvas, waiting for a master to redraw the future. And there, standing in the empty square, is Christopher Wren. Notice his eyes. Where others see loss, he sees opportunity. Wren, alongside the architects and planners of his era, resolved that London would never burn like this again. Watch as our AI reconstruction brings this vision to life. The narrow alleys that once funneled fire and disease are replaced by wide, orderly avenues. Timber gives way to brick. Straw roofs are replaced with stone. London sheds its medieval skin, revealing the structure of a modern, safer, and more resilient city. And there it stands, the crowning achievement, the new St. Paul's Cathedral. Gone are the dark, Gothic spires. In their place rises a majestic dome, a symbol not only of architectural brilliance, but of London's rebirth from fire and plague into a city of enduring strength. Phase 3. The Purge of Fire. September 1666. Look toward the horizon, to a small street called Pudding Lane. It was there, inside a baker's shop, that a single spark ignited what would become one of the most devastating fires in European history. Within hours, the night sky above London glowed red as flames spread across the city. Listen carefully. The sharp crackling you hear is dry timber burning. After months of drought, the tightly packed Tudor houses, built almost entirely of wood, had become perfect fuel for the fire. Watch how the flames leap from roof to roof. The narrow streets we once walked through, charming in appearance but dangerously confined, now act as channels that guide the fire forward. Driven by a strong east wind, the blaze surges through the city like a relentless wave. Look toward St. Paul's Cathedral, once the spiritual heart of London, and the heat is so intense that the lead covering its roof begins to melt. Streams of molten metal run down from the structure, spilling into the streets below like rivers of liquid fire. Near the River Thames, desperate residents rush to load what little they can onto boats. Furniture, tools, family possessions, anything they hope to save before the flames reach them. In less than 4 days and nights, centuries of history vanish. Homes, churches, warehouses, and priceless libraries collapse into ash. The wealth and symbols of a great city are consumed by the inferno. And yet, in this terrible destruction, the fire performs a grim and unintended task. By sweeping through the crowded and unsanitary neighborhoods, it destroys many of the conditions that had allowed the Great Plague to spread only a year before. London is being erased before our eyes, but in the ashes of this catastrophe, something unexpected begins to emerge. Through the smoke and ruins, a new vision for the city will soon take shape. The London we once knew is gone. In its place remain only scorched foundations and broken walls. But this is not the end of the story. Because from these ruins, London will rebuild itself and transform into one of the great cities of the modern world. Phase 2. The Shadow of the Plague. Summer to autumn, 1665. The warm light of spring fades, replaced by the oppressive heat of the summer of 1665. In the same narrow alleys we walked through only moments ago, a silent killer begins to spread from house to house. The vibrant London we just witnessed is slowly transforming into something far darker, a city overshadowed by fear and death. Walk carefully with me now. This is the beginning of the Great Plague. The heat hangs heavily in the air. It is thick, suffocating, and mixed with the foul stench rising from open sewage channels that run along the streets. Only weeks earlier, these alleys were crowded with merchants, workers, and travelers. Now they stand eerily quiet. Stop here for a moment. Look at this wooden door. Painted across it is a bright red cross, and beneath it, the desperate words, "Lord, have mercy upon us." When a house was marked like this, the doors were often nailed shut from the outside. The families inside were sealed away in quarantine, sometimes with the sick, sometimes with the dying. Listen closely. The city sounds different now. The lively calls of merchants are gone. The rumble of carts and the bustle of markets have faded. Instead, there is only the slow tapping of a watchman's staff as guards patrol the streets, enforcing isolation. From behind closed shutters, muffled cries occasionally drift into the silence. The powerful city we admired only moments ago now trembles under an invisible terror. Out of the mist appears a familiar yet unsettling figure, a plague doctor. His long beaked mask and dark glass lenses give him the appearance of something almost otherworldly. The beak is filled with herbs and perfumes, believed at the time to protect against the poisonous air known as miasma. To many people, these doctors looked less like healers and more like harbingers of death. Week after week, the numbers rise. What begins as hundreds of deaths soon becomes thousands. London is now a city where danger lingers in every breath of air and in every silent street corner. The River Thames continues to flow, but the ships that once filled its waters have largely disappeared. Trade slows, life retreats, and the great city seems to hold its breath. London is no longer the bustling heart of an empire. It has become a vast open-air tomb. Yet even this tragedy is not the end of the story. As the plague tightens its grip and carts creak through the streets carrying the dead, another disaster quietly approaches. In the darkness of a small bakery on Pudding Lane, a single spark is about to ignite. And soon, a new force, hotter, brighter, and far more destructive, will sweep across the city, consuming what little London has left. Phase 1. The height of prosperity. Spring, 1665. Stand here for a moment, beside me on this wooden boat. Look out across the water. Do you see the forest of sails on the horizon? In the spring of 1665, the River Thames was one of the busiest trade routes in the world. But this river is more than water. It is the lifeline of the city. Ships from distant colonies crowd its surface, carrying spices, silks, timber, and goods from across the expanding British trade network. Along the docks, merchants shout orders while workers unload cargo in a constant rhythm of movement and noise. This is the sound of a rising empire. Now step ashore with me. Immediately, the city feels different. The streets are narrow, far narrower than those of modern London. Above us, tall Tudor timber houses lean outward, their upper floors jutting over the street below. Layer upon layer of wood frames and beams create the feeling of a long, shadowed tunnel. Even in daylight, the sunlight barely reaches the muddy cobblestones beneath our feet. It is crowded, noisy, and overwhelming. Yet it is also full of energy. Nearly 500,000 people live within this maze of streets, turning London into one of the largest and most dynamic cities in Europe. Look toward the skyline. Rising above the rooftops, you can see the towering spires of old St. Paul's Cathedral. If you are expecting the great dome that defines London today, you will not find it here. In 1665, St. Paul's is still a magnificent Gothic cathedral, a structure that has dominated the city for more than 6 centuries. At this moment, London appears unstoppable, wealthy, powerful, and alive with opportunity. But look more closely into the darker corners of these narrow alleys. Even at the height of its prosperity, something unseen has already begun to spread. Listen carefully. The laughter and voices that filled these streets only moments ago begin to fade. In their place, a strange and unsettling silence starts to settle over the city. What if the paintings of the 17th century were not merely static images, but frozen moments from a story once in motion? Today, with the help of AI reconstruction, we can bring those moments back to life. Scenes that once seemed silent and distant begin to move again, revealing the true scale and intensity of the past. The River Thames was never truly still. In the darkest days of the crisis, it became a grim passage where boats carried the dead away from the city, just while the glow of distant flames spread across the skyline. To recreate these events, our AI system has simulated more than 20 different lighting and environmental conditions, allowing us to visualize the Great Fire of London in 1666 with unprecedented realism. So the question is simple. Do you want to merely read about history, or witness it unfold before your eyes? Come with us. Our journey into the past begins now. Have you ever wondered what London looked like before it became the stone and glass city we know today? Imagine standing here with me, on these same streets nearly 400 years ago. No concrete, no steel. Just a maze of wooden houses leaning over impossibly narrow alleys, packed so tightly together that sunlight could barely touch the ground. Archaeological records reveal that this was the real London before 1666, a city built almost entirely from timber, she'd been crowded with more than 13,000 houses in a small space. One spark would have been enough to turn the entire place into a roaring inferno. It was a city rich with trade and ambition, but dangerously fragile. And yet, before the flames ever came, London was already fighting a far more terrifying enemy. One you couldn't see, couldn't outrun, and couldn't stop. An enemy that crept through these streets in silence. The Great Plague.